Ladies and gentlemen, in this Ifactner's learning video tutorial, we will learn to write different Urdu characters of Urdu alphabet. They include Hey, Do Chasmi Hey, Hamza, Chotiya, and Beri. Let's start our tutorial. First, we will discuss about Hey, or we call it Hati wali Hey, because there are different Heys in Urdu, and one of them, which we have already discussed, was this this Hey. Now we will discuss about Hati wali Hey, and we call this one as Halwai wali Hey. Now, in its independent position, we write this Hati wali Hey as like this. So, just like a inverted balloon, and it's Hey in its independent position. Now, when Hey appears at the beginning of the word, then we write it like this. We make a small semicircle just like be pe te, and then add a connector like this and add this special character under it, and it shows that it's Hey. Now, why do we call it Hati wali Hey? Because Hati means elephant in English, and Hati begins with this Hey. Let me write Hati for you. So, to write Hati, we write Hey and then Alif, and then The, Te Hey, Chotiya. Now, this other Hey, which is called the Do Chasmi Hey, is very important in Urdu because we make all aspirated sounds like Be Hey ki bani Bhe, Pe Hey ki bani Phe with this Hey, and we will discuss it in a short while. Now, let's see how do we write Hatni. Hatni means a female elephant in Urdu. So, to write Hatni, we write Hey, then The, then Noon and Chotiya. Hatni. Now, you will notice that when this Hey appears in the middle of the word, then we write it very differently from its independent position and from its initial position shapes. So, when it appears in the middle of the word, then we add a connector, then write Hey like this, and then add an other connector. Let me write a word called, let's suppose Maha, Meh. We can write Meh, Meh, or Mehkhana like this. Mehkhana. Mehkhana is the place where people drink alcohol. So let's see how do we write it. Meme, and then let me use a different color. Add a connector, add Hey, Meh, Khana, then write He, Alif, Noon, Hey, Meh, Khana, and we can add this special character under it if we would like to. Let me write it one more time. Meme, Hey, Khana, Meh, Khana, He, Alif, Noon, Hey, Meh, Khana. Now you will notice that when this Hey appears at the end of the character, at the end of the word, then we write it totally in a totally different shape. So when we are following the Arabic script, then we can write it like this, or we can also write it like this. Usually in Urdu we write it like this. So you can write it like this or like this. For example, let's write a word, hatapai, or let me write a word in which he appears at the end of the word, and that word is balke, which means instead of it. So let's see how do we write balke. First we write be, then lam, then kaf, and in the end we write he like this, balke. Then there is another word, malka. Malka means queen. A queen is called malka in Urdu. Let's see how do we write it. Mim, lam, kaf, he, malka. So you see that we write this he in its initial position, in its independent position, in its middle position, and in its final position in totally different ways. So you should practice it in order to master writing it. Now let's move forward, and we have Do Chasmi Hey. Why do we call it Do Chasmi Hey? To differentiate it from the previous Hey and the other Halwai Wali Hey. And we call it Do Chasmi Hey because you can see that there are two parts. Do, two. Do means two, and there are two semicircles, therefore it is called Do Chashmi Hey. Now Hey in its independent position is written just like this. You make a slant line, then make a one chashmi and then another chashmi, and we have Do Chashmi Hey. Now this Hey doesn't appear at the beginning of the word. It is always appeared in the middle of the word or at the end of the word, and at the end of the word we write it like just like this, and I will tell you in a short while. So it doesn't appear in the beginning of the word, therefore we don't have to think about its initial position shape, but in its middle position we need to add a first connector if it's being connected to another word, and then after writing this Do Chashmi Hai we add another connector. So you can write it like this, 1, 2, and there are two connectors. Now we have already written Hatni, which means female elephant. Let's see how do we write it here. Hey, this is Hati wali Hey, then Hath, then Te Hey ki bani, Hath, Ni, Noon choti ni, Hatni. Now you see that to make aspirated sounds we use this Do Chashmi Hai with the other letters. So to make the aspirated sound of Be, which is usually Ba, Bi, Bo, to make Ba we write Be Hai ki bani Be like this, or Pe Hai ki bani Pe, Thappar, Thappar, etc. And Te Hai ki bani The. So it makes a different sound than the normal sound of the character. So when we add this Hey with different characters, then we get the aspirated sound Th, B, P, J. Now when this Hey appears at the end of the word, for example Hath, Hath means a hand, then we write He Aleph and Te He. So we write this He, but we put two dots on top of this connector and we get Hath. Let's move forward to the next character, and we have Hamza. Hamza is the smallest character in Urdu alphabet, and we write it just like this. We make a semicircle and then a little slanting line, and we get ourselves Hamza. Hamza doesn't appear in the beginning of the word or at the end of the word. Therefore, we will discuss when its position when it appears in the middle of the word. So you need to add a connector and then add a little connector and put Hamza on top of the character, and we get ourselves Hamza, and it makes a sound of A. It makes the sound longer. So for example, if I write gi, gav choti ye gi, then it's a smaller sound gi, but gai, so I will write gai like this. Gav, Hamza, chotiye, gai. Gai means a woman went. And gi is will. वो ये करेगी. She will do it. वो वहाँ गई. She went there. So गई. So Hamza makes the sound a little longer. Then that is the main uh, take of Hamza, that it makes the sound of the word a little bigger. Then we have Tai. Tai means aunt. Te, Alif, and then here, look, we are writing Hamza like this. So this is its middle position shape because it's not being connected to Alif. And then we write Chotiya. And the next character is Gai. Gai means cow. Gaf, Alif, Ga, Hamza, and then we write Beri. So you see that we need to add, if it's being connected to other connectors, then we write Hamza like this. And if it's not being connected to the last character, then we write Hamza like this and then write the next. The next word or the next character which we are going to discuss is Chotiya. Chotiya, in its independent position, we write it like this. We make a semicircle but stop and then make a big semicircle like this, and we get ourselves Chotiya. Why do we call it Chotiya? Because it makes the sound of E. And the next character which we are going to discuss is Badi, because it's make the sound of A. So to differentiate between these two sounds, and we use Chotiya and Badi. When Chotiya appears at the beginning of the word, then we just write it like Be, Pe, Te, etc. and then add two dots under it. For example, we have a word called Yaqeen. Yaqeen means to believe or to be sure. So we write Yaqeen like this. Ye, Kaf, and then Ye, Noon. These are choti ye's, Yaqeen. So you see that how do we write Chotiya in its initial position and in its middle position. So when Chotiya appears in the middle of the word, then you need to add a connector, add this kind of a thing just like noon, and then add Chotiya like this. For example, Makeen. Makeen means the person who lives in a house. Meen, Kaf, and then we need to write Chotiya. So this is the connector, and then we write Chotiya like this, and then noon here. So it becomes Makeen. Makeen's one means who, the persons who are living in the house. इस घर के कौन मकीन है? Who is living in this house? Now when Chotiya appears at the end of the word, then we need to add a connector and then add Chotiya. For example, we have a word called bhai. Bhai means brother. Be hai ki bani be, alif bha, and Hamza Chotiya, bhai. Let me write it one more time. Be hai alif and Hamza chotiye bhai. Now the next word character is badiye. Badiye comes at the end of the word, so we just, and it is not connected to, it's being connected to Hamza and other characters at the end. So let's see how do we write it in its independent position, in its initial position, middle position, and final position. So in its independent position, we write it like this. No word starts with it, so we don't need to think how do we write it in its independent position. But if something appears, if it appears in the beginning of the word, then we can just write it like chotiye. And we have a word, for example, chai. Chai means tea. So let me show you how do we write badiye. Che, alif, hamza, and then you write badiye, chai. Then we have the. The means हम खाना खा रहे थे. It's mean in the past. रहे थे. So we write the, were. The is equal to were. So we write the है की बनी थे and बढ़िए थे. रहे, re, he, and then बढ़िए. So we write बढ़िए like this. So it's just like this. In its initial independent position, we write it like this. But in its final position, we omit this part and we get ourselves बढ़िए. So ladies and gentlemen, this tutorial concludes our discussion of how do we write Urdu alphabets, characters, and what are different shapes of these characters when they appear independently, when they appear in the beginning of the word, when they appear in the middle of the word, and when they appear at the end of the word. I hope that you have learned a lot, and we will discuss in our next tutorials how do we write simple words and sentences in Urdu language. I will see you in the next tutorial. Until then, take care, keep learning, keep enjoying. Good day.